Hi everybody, in English 050, this is Ms. Young. Today I'm going to take you through the Writing Proficiency Rubric, which is the rubric that is used by the Writing Proficiency Evaluators to determine if your essay passes or does not pass. It doesn't actually get a grade like you're used to, A, B, C, D, F. It also doesn't really get feedback like you know how I wrote the little note for you at the end of your essay. You don't really get that either. It's determined all by a rubric, and there are 8 objectives on the rubric, and your essay has to pass 6 out of those 8 objectives to be considered passing. And I'm going to take you through each objective and kind of explain it to you and break it down for you so you have a really clear idea of what that is. One other thing I want to mention, each essay gets read by 2 evaluators. And if for some reason those evaluators disagree on if your essay is passing or not passing, so one passes and one does not pass the essay, then it gets sent to a third reader. Honestly, that doesn't happen too often. But what you want to do is you want to make it as clear as possible that you are meeting these objectives in your essay. So I'm going to launch right into that. Okay, so here's the rubric. It looks something like this. You'll see it on Blackboard as well, and so you can see a bigger version of it. Here's each objective over here, and they have kind of a little description of it. And then you see over here, there's just yes and no. So you have to get 6 objectives, at least 6 objectives, into the yes category for your essay to be considered passing. If you only get 5 or less yeses, then the essay does not pass. And again, that'll be on Blackboard here in just a little bit, so you can see that as well. So here's the first objective, and I've got it written up here. So write thesis statements for a specific audience of purpose. Okay, we've talked a lot about thesis statements this semester, so you should have a pretty good idea of what this means. This means your thesis statement's in the proper place in your essay, meaning it's not at the beginning of the first paragraph, it's at the end. At the end of the first paragraph of your essay is where your thesis statement should be. It should also have both a topic and a controlling idea. Okay, so things that this does not mean, and this is probably the #1 thing I see that people try to do with thesis statements in general. Your thesis statement should not announce what your essay is going to be about. Something like, in this essay I will discuss whatever, or my paper will explain whatever. You don't want to do these 2 things. That's considered announcing your topic, and you don't want to do that because it's kind of lazy writing, and it's kind of just hitting your audience over the head. Nobody likes to read that. And if you remember back when we first started talking about thesis statements, way back towards the beginning of the semester, that was one of the big, the traps that thesis statements will fall in. So you want to try to avoid that one. You also want to make sure that it has both a topic and a controlling idea. So nothing, don't just tell your topic. You have to tell what's going on with the topic. I'm a good fit for MSU because I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, and I'm an overall excellent student, and based on my GPA, or something to that effect. You can see that you're a good student and a good fit for MSU, and here's why. So that's your topic and your controlling idea. Be sure you have both. Okay, objective 7 says adapt the content, format, language, and tone of the writing to meet the needs of a specific audience and purpose. This means your essay should be in formal academic tone. No slang, obviously no bad language, or details that are too personal. And another thing is that it stays on topic. Be sure that you're meeting all of the ideas, that you're meeting that you're actually writing to the prompt, and you're not just kind of going off on your own tangent or whatever. Those are the big things that you kind of see there. So nothing like, I am an awesome person, and I am because I rule, or, I mean, that's a bad example, but you kind of know what I mean. Nothing, be sure you're staying formal, not the way that you would just talk to your friends. Okay, objective 4. Write supporting paragraphs that use appropriate, specific, and convincing evidence within a text to develop the thesis statement. So this just means you're using, all your supporting details should match your thesis statement, and it should match your topic sentence. So, for example, if you're writing if you've decided to pick the prompt about why your boss should or should not invest in an employee education, for example, and you've spent 2 paragraphs talking about why it's such a good investment, you don't want to have your third body paragraph be like, maybe it's not such a good investment, and here's why. So everything builds to that thesis statement. Everything goes to that. So all your stuff goes to that. Okay. this graph kind of demonstrates what I mean here, and you've probably seen this before at some point. Here's your essay's main idea. It's up here is your thesis statement. Topic sentence 1, details. Topic sentence 2, details. And topic sentence 3, details. And if you can see, everything goes back up to this main idea. You can also think of this like a pyramid, how everything at the base supports everything above it. That's what the details do. And then you've got the middle part, and then you've got your point up at the very top at your apex. It should be your thesis statement. Everything should build to that. Okay, objectives 11 and 12, integrate evidence from sources into an original text and use basic elements of documentation. These are kind of rolled into one objective. This means using at least one outside source, and you have to attempt a works cited entry. Now, two things that this does not mean, that they will not give you credit for it if you do one of these two things. The first is just plopping a source into the essay with no context around it. So let's say that you have chosen the prompt about why 50% of community college students in Missouri don't come back to college. So let's say that you say, okay, well, the main thing is that they have money problems. And then the very next sentence, it just includes is just a quote from like how much it costs to go to OTC per credit hour. Okay, you've not established any sort of connection between those two things, and you haven't given us a signal phrase or some sort of idea of what you need to do there. So be sure that when you include your outside source, that you work it into it goes along with what you're saying in the paragraph. Does that make sense? And then the other thing that people tend to do is just copy and paste the URL as your works cited entry. That does not cut it here. You have to at least attempt to do a works cited entry. And I'll give you feedback on this, obviously, but you can't just put the URL in there and call it a day. You have to be sure and attempt to do like the author's last name, comma, first name, in quotations it goes, the article or web page title, the website that you found it on, the publisher, the date it was published, and then you write web, and then you write the date you accessed it. That's kind of the general format there, and I'll post that on Blackboard, but just so you kind of have a good idea there. Okay, objective 5.1, write unified supporting paragraphs. This means one paragraph equals one idea. The topic sentence will give kind of a general overview of the paragraph, and all of the supporting details prove that paragraph or that idea to be true in that paragraph. Main thing is stay focused. Don't start jumping around in the middle of your paragraph. If you have super long paragraphs, that's something that you need to look at. So be sure you write unified supporting paragraphs. Be sure all your body paragraphs go together. Which also kind of leads us into objective 5.2, write effectively organized supporting paragraphs within a text to achieve cohesiveness. This means that everything works together. Your essay is free of tangents or unrelated ideas, and each paragraph builds upon the next paragraph to create a point. So again, if you are back on that essay where you've decided to write about why 50% of Missouri college students don't come back after the first year, you could talk about, and you decide to say, okay, your thesis is they have money problems, and so financial reasons, and that's what your first paragraph's about, and then somewhere down in the body paragraph 3, you go off about they also have personal issues. Okay, that's not really related to your thesis. You have to be sure and make sure each one builds on the next. Okay, objective 6. Use transitional and connective devices within text to achieve coherence and focus. This means that there are two types of transitions within the paper. The first type is between paragraphs, and the second type is between sentences. So when you're reading through your essay, pretend that you know absolutely nothing about your topic, and you're coming to it completely blank as a reader, and ask yourself, do these ideas connect? Does this make sense? If I didn't know this other stuff, would I be able to understand it? Page 40 of your textbook has a whole list of transitions that you can use to show relationships, so you can take a look there. One thing I want to point out, this does not mean first I think blah blah blah. My second point is blah blah blah. Don't just plug in first, second, third, or firstly, secondly, thirdly, or my first point, my second point, my third point in your body paragraphs. That's a big no-no. Again, it's kind of lazy writing, so you don't want to do that. You want to be sure and show a little bit more maturity with your writing there. Okay. This last one's pretty self-explanatory. Avoids major grammatical and mechanical errors, fragments, run-ons, common misuses, subject-verb disagreement. If you know, for example, that you have a problem with run-ons, that this is something that you're kind of aware of, you need to be sure and look through that before you submit it. The main thing here is so maybe you occasionally misuse a comma like once or twice throughout the essay. That's not a big deal. It's when you misuse commas with every single introductory phrase, or if you misuse commas with every conjunction. That's where there's a pattern, and that's something that you should look at. Make sure your essay is properly edited and free of most grammar mistakes. Okay. So again, that rubric's going to be up on Blackboard here, so you can look through that in just a minute. Send me your questions through the open forum on the discussion board, or through email at youngj@otc.edu. All right, well, you guys have a good day, and get to writing.